This section is going to be quite long, as it introduces you to constructions, and it often takes a bit of practice for students to get used to doing constructions for the first time. And for some reason, the book decides this wasn't a long enough section already, and decides to put a couple of extra vocabulary words in this section that really should have come earlier. But in any case, they are here. At least they are easy vocabulary. You probably have seen it before. First, we have perpendicular lines, which are two lines that intersect to form right angles. They look like this. Since perpendicular lines form right angles, we can mark all of these angles as right angles. That's what is really happening. But in practice, you don't see all four angles marked as congruent. Typically, you only see one of them. Mathematicians are lazy folks. If they can come up with a symbol to save writing a few characters, they will. And if they only have to put one symbol instead of four, then gosh dang it, they're only going to put one symbol instead of four. Here, since we know one angle is a right angle, due to linear pairs and vertical angles, we know that all four of them are right angles. It doesn't matter which one is marked as the right angle either. As long as any one of the four are marked, we know that they are all right angles, and we also know that they are perpendicular lines. Here I have labeled a couple of points on the line so that we can name them. With these points labeled, I can say that line AC is perpendicular to line DB. Obviously, that is way too much writing. Here's the symbol that we use. It looks like an upside down capital T. You can imagine that making the symbol look like a plus sign would be a little bit confusing. So this is what we have. A perpendicular bisector is exactly what it sounds like. Just look at the meaning of the two words. A perpendicular bisector is something that is both perpendicular to a line segment and also bisects the line segment. So here, I have a nice unassuming line segment. Let's cut it in half. Here is line YZ. Since it is a perpendicular to our line segment and also bisects our line segment, we can say that line YZ is a perpendicular bisector of our line segment. Really, the name says it all. Now to the primary part of this section, your introduction to constructions. This is basically a section where you are experiencing how ancient Greeks and the like did some geometry. It's your living history lesson. In order to do a construction, we need two tools. First is a straight edge. Most of you will be using a ruler or maybe a protractor as a straight edge, and that's fine. However, 2,300 years ago, they didn't have nice markings showing precise measurements on their straight edges, so you won't ever be using the markings on your straight edge when doing a construction. All of them are designed with that in mind, so any straight item will work for your straight edge. The second tool we'll be using for your constructions is a geometer's compass, like the one shown here. This is a pretty basic kind which works perfectly well. There are many super fancy ones with lots of wheels and dials and gizmos and such. They create absolutely beautiful constructions, but they take a very long time to use since you have so many wheels to turn. This basic one here is actually very fast to use once you have practiced enough. The one thing though is if you have a compass like this one, the key to success is making sure that screw there is snug, but not tight. You want the compass to move, but not easily. There is a common brand of compass like this one that you can get at Staples and the like, where this screw starts out extremely loose. The first thing you will want to do is to tighten that up. And now some tips on how to actually use this compass. The first one you're probably not going to like very much, but it takes practice. This is a skill just like anything else, and you really just need to practice using it to get better at it. The first thing is, on your compass you have the pointed end and you have the pencil end. You want to make sure you put pressure on the pointed end, but have almost no pressure on the pencil. You want this part to be fixed in place, but the other pencil part can move freely. When you push down on the pencil, you want to make very light marks. You do not want to push hard on this pencil. If you do push hard on this pencil, you're going to make your life very difficult. So even though the pencil marks might leave a very light mark, that's okay. It's going to work much better if you don't put too much pressure on that pencil. Second thing is don't use the compass straight up and down. Straight up and down is actually pretty hard. You want to have it at a slant. So when I did my mark just there, I had it slanted, and that's actually a much easier way to go. It's much easier to make marks with a slant than it is straight up and down. So have your compass at a slant. The last thing is sometimes you're going to make a very large arc. And if you're going to make a very large arc, or maybe even a full circle, it often helps to not move the compass, but to move your paper instead. So spin your paper around, and you will be able to make a much bigger arc or a full circle much easier than if you had tried to move the compass itself. Those are the three big tips, and it just takes practice. I have many companion videos with this. Copying an angle, bisecting an angle, perpendicular bisectors, and so on. So go look at those videos to see how to do a specific type of construction.